What if I told you that you don't need years to get to know someone? Just 3 moments. Most people believe that character is something that time reveals, that long-term relationships mean trust. But that's one of the biggest illusions you can have. Because in practice, time doesn't reveal anyone. It only allows people to get better at hiding who they really are. And that's exactly why so many people are disappointed, not because others have changed, but because they finally showed what was always there. Now pay attention to this. There are 3 specific, simple, almost invisible situations that expose a person's true personality in seconds. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter the image they've built. In these situations, there's no time to pretend. There's no time to calculate. It's pure instinct. And when you learn to see that, you never fall into the same kind of mistake again, because the truth is harsh, but liberating. Dangerous people don't reveal themselves over time. They reveal themselves in the details that most people ignore. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to identify those signs before it's too late. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He observes something that few people dare to admit. Time doesn't reveal anyone. It only gives people the chance to perfect their masks. At first, everyone seems light-hearted, polite, almost impeccable. It's the famous appearance of virtue working perfectly. Well-calculated smiles, carefully chosen words, seemingly noble attitudes. But there, in the invisible backstage, something much more strategic is happening. People are studying the environment, understanding limits, testing how far they can go without being rejected. It's politics guided by reality, not by ideals, even if no one admits it. And if you stop to think about it, this isn't necessarily malice, it's social survival. But that's exactly where the danger lies. Because the more time passes, the more refined this performance becomes. More subtle, more convincing, harder to perceive. And the problem isn't the mask itself. It's when you believe it's the face. It's when you confuse consistency of behavior with truth of character. But real character doesn't need time. It appears quickly, in small moments, in reactions that weren't rehearsed, in situations where there wasn't time to calculate, and it's in those seconds, almost imperceptible, that you begin to see who is behind the curtain. Now, consider a simple situation. Someone treats you well for months, polite, available, even generous, but just a small discomfort, a slight setback, and suddenly the tone changes. Patience disappears, respect wavers, the mask slips. This type of rupture is not an exception, it's a revelation. Because true character isn't built in comfort, it emerges from friction. That's where you see if the person makes decisions based on real human nature or if they're just maintaining a convenient image. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Human beings are not constant, they are adaptable. Virtù and fortuna are constantly intertwined, skill and circumstance dancing together. And those who master this know exactly when to show one version and when to hide another. Therefore, relying on time as proof of character is a classic mistake. Time doesn't truly test anyone. It only offers more opportunities for someone to maintain a convincing narrative. And the more you cling to the idea of, "I've known this person for years," the more vulnerable you become to someone who has learned to play this game masterfully. And this is where an even more delicate and perhaps uncomfortable point comes in. Because if time doesn't reveal character, then how do you really identify who someone is? It's not in their history, it's not in their speeches, it's not even in their apparent consistency. It's in micro moments, in spontaneous reactions, in situations where there's no clear advantage in appearing good, where there's no audience, where there's no immediate reward. It's there that the calculated use of force ceases to be a strategy and becomes instinct. It's there that you perceive who treats you well out of convenience and who treats you well out of essence. And curiously, these moments are so small that most people ignore them. They go unnoticed, but it's these fragments that tell the whole story. And when you start to see this, you realize there's a pattern, an invisible but extremely precise pattern that separates confident people from dangerous people. And it's precisely this pattern that begins to reveal itself in the next point. He doesn't need years of interaction to understand the person in front of him. He observes three simple, almost invisible moments that reveal more than any speech. The first is micro-denial. It seems small, almost insignificant, but it carries enormous weight. It's when you say a simple no, something banal like refusing an invitation, not responding immediately, or disagreeing with an opinion. And then comes the reaction. Does the person get irritated, try to pressure you, make passive-aggressive jokes, or respect it naturally? It's at that moment that you discover if you're dealing with someone who understands limits, or someone who sees you as an extension of their will. Those who react badly to a small no generally don't tolerate a big no. It's a clear sign of a need for control. And here's a detail that few people notice. Such people rarely explode obviously at first. They use more subtle strategies: guilt, silence, sarcasm. It's the famous avoiding being hated while still trying to maintain power over you. If you want to test this in practice, start small. Say no to something irrelevant and observe. Don't argue, don't over-justify, just observe. The reaction will tell you everything. The second revelation is what he calls a silent funeral. It's when you share an achievement, something that should be celebrated, and the person's reaction doesn't match. There's no real enthusiasm, no sparkle in their eyes. Sometimes it's a dry congratulations or a change of subject, or even a veiled criticism. This happens because deep down, your victory threatens their position. It's hard to accept, but it's real. Not everyone who applauds you is happy for you. Some are just maintaining the appearance of virtue while internally making comparisons. And here comes one of the rawest rules of human nature. For some people, your growth represents their own stagnation, and this generates discomfort, envy, silent resentment. If you want a clear example, pay attention to who disappears when you improve and reappears when you're down. This isn't a coincidence, it's a pattern, and understanding this puts you a few steps ahead because you begin to differentiate those who celebrate your rise from those who silently root for your downfall. And the third revelation is perhaps the most powerful, the impunity factor. This is where the mask truly falls. Observe how a person treats those who can offer nothing in return: waiters, attendants, subordinates, strangers on the street. When there are no social consequences, when there is no gain, when no one is watching, the behavior changes. And this behavior is as close as possible to the essence. Someone might treat you well because they need you. That's strategy. But how they treat someone irrelevant reveals who they would be without rules. It's the calculated use of force without filter, without the need to appear virtuous. And here you realize something profound. Selective respect is not respect. It's calculation. It's pure Machiavelli, but without conscience. If you want to apply this in practice, observe small scenes from everyday life, how a person reacts to an attendant's mistake, how they speak to someone who disagrees without status, how they behave when they are irritated and no one important is around. These moments are diagnostic. And when you put these three revelations together, micro-denial, silent funeral, and the impunity factor, you begin to see a pattern that is almost impossible to ignore. A pattern that inevitably leads to an uncomfortable and unavoidable question. And this is where he does something most people avoid. He flips the mirror. Because after learning to identify patterns in others, a question arises that cannot be ignored. And you? How do you react when someone tells you no? Not in theory, but in practice. When something small gets out of your control, do you accept it maturely, or do you feel that silent, almost automatic discomfort that demands justification, explanation, validation? This is the point where the analysis ceases to be external and becomes internal, because it's comfortable to point out signs in others, but it's uncomfortable to recognize the same patterns within yourself. And yet, that's exactly what separates those who evolve from those who only observe. Machiavelli spoke about decisions based on real human nature, and that begins with recognizing one's own nature, without filters, without romanticization, without the need to maintain the appearance of virtue all the time, because while you try to appear impeccable, you fail to see where you need to improve. Now imagine another scenario. Someone close to you achieves something great. A promotion, a financial result, a life-changing event. And for a second, just a second, you feel something strange. It's not exactly sadness, but it's not pure joy either. It's an involuntary comparison. A quick thought like, what about me? This micro-feeling doesn't make you a bad person, but ignoring it prevents you from growing. This is where a powerful principle comes in. Recognizing it isn't condemning yourself, it's freeing yourself. Envy, when denied, becomes silent sabotage. When recognized, it becomes fuel. It's the beginning of a mindset that understands that the end justifies the means. But here, the means are internal: discipline, learning, action. Instead of shutting yourself off, you can study those who have succeeded. Read books like Think and Grow Rich, observe patterns, learn strategies, transform discomfort into direction. And this completely changes the game because you stop competing emotionally and start evolving strategically. And perhaps the most sensitive point of all, how do you behave when you have power? It doesn't even have to be something big. It could be a small leadership position, a moment where someone depends on you, or even a situation where you're tired and someone wrongs you. That's when character manifests itself without warning. Do you take it out on someone? Do you ignore it? Or do you maintain control? Because leadership isn't about dominating, it's about inner discipline. It's about understanding that the calculated use of force begins with self-control. And here's a detail that changes everything. Those who don't govern themselves inevitably try to control others. It's almost automatic. Therefore, true power isn't about imposing, but about choosing. Choosing not to react impulsively, choosing not to humiliate, choosing not to use momentary advantage. That's virtue in action, inner control, even when the situation allows otherwise. And when you start to perceive these patterns within yourself, you understand that it's not just about identifying dangerous people out there. There's something much deeper being built inside. And this inevitably leads to the next stage, where it's not enough to see. You have to act. Realizing is just the beginning. The real game starts when he decides to act differently. The first change is what's called a sovereign mindset. It's simple to understand, but difficult to practice. It involves learning to deal with no without turning it into a personal attack. It seems basic, but most people react with wounded ego, excessive justifications, or a need to prove something. Those who develop this mindset understand that not everything revolves around them. A no isn't rejection. It's simply a response within the social game. And here's a powerful principle. The less you react emotionally, the more control you have. This doesn't mean being passive. It means being strategic. It's politics guided by reality, not ideals. A practical example. When someone refuses something you wanted, instead of arguing or insisting, you simply accept it lightly and change direction. This completely disarms the power dynamic, because whoever expects a reaction loses strength when they encounter calm. And in the long run, this builds a silent image of someone difficult to manipulate, someone who doesn't beg, doesn't pressure, doesn't become destabilized. And this, without you realizing it, begins to change how people position themselves in front of you. The second change is the alchemist's mindset. Here, they stop denying uncomfortable feelings and start using them. Envy, comparison, frustration, all of this ceases to be weakness and becomes raw material. Instead of shutting down or criticizing those ahead, they observe, analyze, learn. It's the principle that the end justifies the means, but applied to personal growth. If someone has achieved something you want, there's a path there. There's a strategy, a pattern, a replicable behavior. And instead of resisting, they absorb it. A direct example, saw someone growing in the digital world. Instead of belittling them, they study the titles, the scripts, the engagement patterns. Saw someone evolving financially. Instead of criticizing, they understand where they invest, how they think, what decisions they make. This completely transforms their energy. Because you stop wasting emotional energy against and start investing energy in favor. And here's a detail that few realize. People who truly grow are rarely busy criticizing. They are busy learning. Constant adaptability. That's the game. And whoever understands this accelerates. And the third change is stoic leadership, perhaps the quietest, but also the most powerful. He understands that power isn't about position, it's about behavior. It doesn't matter if you lead a team, a project, or just yourself. The pattern is the same. Treat everyone with respect, regardless of what they can offer. Because selective respect is a sign of disguised weakness. Those who only respect those who have something to offer are always playing for the other person. Those who maintain consistency control their own game. And here's an essential point. The calculated use of force isn't about aggression, it's about restraint. It's knowing that you could react but choose not to, that you could impose but choose to lead. A simple example, a mistake by someone under your responsibility. You can humiliate, expose, take it out on them. Or you can correct them firmly and respectfully. The difference seems small, but it builds completely opposite reputations over time. And in the end, it all comes back to Machiavelli's principle. Better to be feared than loved, but never hated. Because fear generates respect when it is accompanied by justice. And when you master this, you not only protect yourself from dangerous people, you become someone difficult for them to hurt. And inevitably, this changes how you position yourself in the world, including how you choose who stays by your side. In the end, he understands something that completely changes the game. It's not about confronting difficult people. It's about repositioning your energy. Most people still believe they need to solve everything through conversation, explanation, or direct confrontation. But in practice, this almost always generates unnecessary wear and tear. Because those who play manipulatively aren't interested in understanding. They're interested in maintaining control. And this is where one of the most silent and effective strategies comes in, the gray rock method. They don't react, they don't expose themselves, they don't feed into the situation. Short, neutral, unemotional answers. No long explanations, no excessive justifications. It's almost as if their presence ceases to be interesting to those seeking conflict or validation. A simple example. Someone tries to provoke, test limits, or generate guilt, and instead of engaging in the game, they respond neutrally. I understand, maybe, whatever, without energy, without emotional commitment. And this, over time, completely breaks the pattern, because manipulation requires reaction. Without reaction, the game loses its meaning. It's the calculated use of force in its most refined form, doing nothing but intentionally. At the same time, he begins to do something many ignore, create space. Because it's no use just distancing yourself from what drains you if you don't create space for what builds you up. He starts observing those who respect boundaries without questioning, who celebrate achievements without comparison, who maintain consistency even when there's no advantage. And these people are rare, but they are the ones who change the trajectory, because the environment shapes behavior. Your own loyal armies aren't built by chance, they're built by choice. And here comes a practical decision. Gradually reducing contact with those who show clear signs of emotional disrespect. It doesn't need a dramatic break. It doesn't need an announcement, just less presence, less availability, less access. And at the same time, more closeness with those who add value. This seems simple, but it's one of the most strategic decisions someone can make in life, because in the long run, you become an average of the people you associate with. And choosing that circle well is a silent form of power. And interestingly, in doing all this, something unexpected happens. He stops wasting energy trying to understand difficult people and begins to direct that energy toward building his own life. Less overanalysis, more action. Less worry about who might be a problem. More focus on who can be an ally. It's constant adaptability in action, because the world doesn't change, but how you position yourself within it changes everything. And when you start operating like this, with clarity, strategy, and emotional control, you realize you no longer need to prove anything to anyone, nor convince, nor confront. Just choose. And this choice, repeated over time, completely redefines the type of person who remains around you, and the type of life you build. Now let me ask you a question, and be honest with yourself. How many times have you ignored clear signs just because you wanted to believe someone else's comfortable version of events? How many times have you justified a strange reaction, downplayed a behavior, or simply pretended not to see it to avoid discomfort? Because the truth is simple and uncomfortable. The problem is almost never the lack of signs. It's the lack of decision in the face of them. You saw it, you felt it, but you chose not to act. And that's exactly what keeps you trapped in the same cycles, with the same people, the same mistakes. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine you starting to observe more precisely, identifying patterns without getting emotionally involved, accepting what is, without trying to romanticize what you would like it to be. That changes everything, because when you see clearly, you stop negotiating with the obvious. And when you stop negotiating with the obvious, you start making different decisions. So I want to leave you with this. From today onwards, you will pay attention to the 3 signs. You will observe the reactions. You will sense the atmosphere. And, most importantly, you will act according to what you see, not according to what you desire. Now tell me below, which of these signs have you ignored and paid the price for? And if this type of content has broadened your perspective a bit, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here you don't just learn to understand people, you learn to position yourself in a way that few have the courage to.